Mr. Reid, lovely to see you this morning. Hopefully you can hear me. Hello. Great to have you on the show. You know what my first question is going to be, don't you? I need to know, Steve Reid.
Looking forward to hearing it.
I need to know, Steve Reid, how many houses have been built since Labour took power?
302,000 now.
Fabulous.
Pleased to say.
I'm glad to have that answer from you. It's not a gotcha question, I hope you'll agree. But isn't this problematic? Because if you look at charts suggesting the level of migration, I think it was put at 204,000 in 2025, actually your targets are way too short. In order to match migration as well as population rise, you're actually going to have to build 2.5 million houses over the next Parliament, and you're only planning to build 1.5. So you're 1 million homes short over the course of the next 5 years.
Well, we're starting from a difficult position because the previous government scrapped house building targets and triggered a housing crisis across the country. And my concern is that we've got double the number of people left sleeping rough on the streets, thanks to the last government. We need to get those people indoors. But young people today, when I was in my 20s, I was able to go and find a place to rent that I could afford to live in. And in my 30s, I bought my first flat, that important first foot on the housing ladder. Young people today are denied those opportunities because we haven't built enough new homes for years. So in order to get the housing sector growing again, we need to really ramp it up. 1.5 million is a stretching target within this Parliament, but we don't build that many, then stop. We'll then have a run rate that is much higher, and we keep building into the next Parliament as well, so that we can make the dream of home ownership come true for young people who have seen their dreams buried by the Conservatives and those Tories who have now defected to reform.
You're blaming the Conservatives there, but in the last 18 months, you've actually built 40,000 fewer homes than the Tories built in their last 19 months in power.
Well, first of all, the number of homes being built right now would have been the tail end of what the Conservatives were doing. So that's why it's going down, because of the time it takes to get an application in, get consent, and then start building. But here's a question. Here's one for you. Do you know how much the increase in new housing starts went up this year compared to last year?
Well, on account of not being the housing secretary, no, I don't know the answer to that.
18%. I know you've got researchers that do this stuff for you, Camilla. 18%.
Well, I do quite a lot of my own research, actually.
That is nearly one-fifth more homes, nearly one-fifth more homes starting to be built this year compared to 1 year ago. We are ratcheting up the number. That's why the Independent Office of Budget Responsibility says this government will build more homes than any government has built for 40 years.
But you still did build fewer homes. You still built fewer homes in your first 18 months than the Tories built in their last 18 months.
It's the tail end of what the Tories were doing. Anything being built now,
you did build fewer.
Would have been things that went through under the previous government, because it takes 18 months to go through the planning system. So what you'll see now, Camilla, is exactly what we just saw. The numbers ratcheting up. Last week's figures, one-fifth more than a year ago, and that will keep going up over the coming years, and we will build the homes the Tories refuse to build, and that will open the dream of home ownership to young people. That's why I'm doing it.
We'll come back to domestic matters in just a minute, but I do have Sebastian Lai, who is the son of Jimmy Lai, in the studio with me, waiting to come on after we've done this interview. In what world did the Prime Minister think it was a good idea to go out to China while a British citizen is in solitary confinement for 5 years? Why did he do that?
Well, Camilla, it's so that he could raise that issue directly with President Xi, the president of China. There is now
he definitely raise it?
He raised it directly with the president of China. There is now an open dialogue, and there is much more hope when there is a dialogue and a conversation than zero hope when there's no dialogue. Now, what we need to do is use that open channel and keep pushing hard until Jimmy Lai is released. Refusing to talk to the Chinese means no hope of Jimmy Lai being released. I want to see him released, so it is right that the Prime Minister raised it with the president of China.
How confident are you on a scale of 1 to 10 that Keir Starmer can secure the release of Jimmy Lai?
Well, before there was zero hope, now there is some hope. And surely some hope is better than none.
A lot of hope. I mean, otherwise, what's the point of the trip if he can't guarantee his release?
If we did what you're suggesting, there would be no hope of Jimmy Lai being released. How is that in anyone's interests? We have to have a dialogue.
I'm asking you what the chip has achieved. because we're scratching our heads over here. Somebody who has got a proud record of fighting for people's human rights goes and visits China, which has obviously got an appalling human rights record. A British citizen is in solitary confinement because, lo and behold, he produced a newspaper that was critical of the communist regime. People are asking, well, what on earth has this trip achieved? If it had achieved the release of Jimmy Lai, we'd all celebrate and say, thank God he went to Beijing. Yeah. What has it achieved?
If Camilla, in a few months' time, he's released, are you going to say you were wrong for arguing that we shouldn't speak to China? If this results in Jimmy Lai's freedom, where there is now some hope for that because of dialogue, yes, I'm sure you will be celebrating and forgetting that you were telling the world.
I haven't called for a lack of. I haven't called for a lack of dialogue with China. I'm talking about the wisdom. No. Sorry, excuse me, Mr. Reid. I'm talking about the wisdom of going out to China at this particular point, when we've just had the green lighting of a Chinese super embassy that the Telegraph has revealed blueprints show has got preparations for a spying dungeon underneath that's raised huge concerns with the intelligence services. And in light of the fact, he could have said, I won't come to China because you've imprisoned in solitary confinement a British citizen.
The media, people like you, just sit there and pontificate and get it wrong again and again and again. The security forces said it is better to have a Chinese embassy in one location than spread across 7. It's easier to keep tabs on them. Now,
I think they said that before they saw the unredacted plans.
Because it's not true. And it's far better to have a dialogue to secure the freedom of Jimmy Lai than sit back and do nothing, and he's never going to be released. If he's released in a few months' time, I will enjoy coming back on this show and you telling me the Prime Minister did the right thing.
OK, we look forward to him being released. We hope that he is released.
So do I, on
the Chinese super embassy, unfortunately, the intelligence services and the police were dealing with blueprints that were redacted. They didn't see the unredacted blueprints. We only saw the unredacted blueprints because of the reporting of my colleague Gareth Caulfield. Just moving on to the Epstein files.
Now you have particular insight into what the security forces are saying and seeing. But
that's what the intelligence services told the Telegraph in response to the blueprints.
It is far better to have the Chinese in one location than in 7, and people will be able to understand. It's common sense. If you're looking at one building rather than 7, you can be more secure about it. So they raise no concerns whatsoever about security, and that's the truth of it. But what the Telegraph is saying, that is what the security forces said.
In related issues, because of course the Chagos deal is in the interests of the Chinese, who have close links to Mauritius. The Chagos deal must be well, yes, because the International Court had a Chinese communist official sitting on it that made a non-binding judgment about the future of the Chagos Islands. We now find out that there was a 1966... Sorry, Mr. Reid, could I finish my question? I'm so sorry. Could I finish my question?
You're misrepresenting the case and then wheeling on as if that what you said is true, and it isn't. I need you when you're misrepresenting the case to the public.
Your bill has just been pulled in Parliament because it's been revealed that the UK signed a 1966 treaty with the US to ensure that the Chagos Islands remained in UK ownership. So why on earth didn't Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, and indeed the Prime Minister, who are both strong adherents to international law, know about the existence of this treaty?
The bill will be coming back. And what the Chinese want is the British out of Chagos so that they could get their own base there. So what the government is doing is making sure it remains a British base, accessible for NATO and not to the Chinese. Again, Camilla, the total opposite of what you're just telling to your viewers. You are misrepresenting the situation about national security and the security of NATO. And it would be better if you didn't do that.
Well, no, I haven't made any misrepresentations. I'm merely saying that the ICJ decision was non-binding.
The Chinese want to do what we're doing on Chagos. They want the opposite.
Can you answer the question? Why wasn't the Prime Minister or the Attorney General aware of a 1966 treaty which has caused you to have to pull the bill from Parliament?
They are fully aware of it, and the bill will be coming back.
Because you had the bill before Parliament.
The bill will be coming back. There are sometimes procedural reasons in the House of Commons and the House of Lords why you have to do things. That bill will be going forwards because it is in the national security interest of this country that we have a British base there, not a Chinese base.
All right, we need to leave it there, Steve Reid. Thank you for a very feisty interview this morning. Great to speak to you.
Thank you for a feisty questioning.
Indeed.